Hi everyone, trust you're keeping well and fit. So, today I have a question for you. Do you really value the plans God has for you? Do you? Well, while you ponder on this question, let's take a look at what the psalmist says on this regard. So, if we look at Psalm 139, verse 17, it says, "How precious to me are your thoughts, O God! How vast is the sum of them." So, here we see a man or psalmist highly valuing the plans of God for his life. The thoughts of God is equivalent to the plans that God has for you. And look at the value he places. It's so precious to him. It's something that he cannot live without. It's something that he thinks about, ponders about all the time because he has high regard for it. And this is the psalmist's attitude towards the plans of God. What are your attitudes towards the plans of God for your life? Do you really value them? Do you hold them in high esteem? While you ponder on that, I would also like to take your attention to this question. So, why do we need to know the plan and will of God for our lives? Why is it so important? After all, we can live on this earth, live this life without following any of His plans and wills. We can still do that. So, why this? Why do we need to do this? What are the intentions behind it? Is it because we genuinely love God and we want to please Him and glorify Him that we want to know His plans and will and walk in those? Or is it because we want to satisfy our own personal agendas, to elevate ourselves or maybe look good before the world and to use God's plans as part of that? What is it? But don't get me wrong, it's not that God doesn't want us to be blessed or prosperous or successful in this earth. He wants that. But sometimes our intentions can speak otherwise. We can try to use God's plans and will for our lives for our own self gratification or personal reasons or selfish agendas for that matter. So, what is yours? What are your intentions? What are your motives towards the plans of God for your life? Why do you want to know them? Is it because you genuinely want to please Him? Or could it be some other reason? Think about it. So while you think about it, let's find out God's motives and intentions for His plans and wills for our lives. So why does God want this for us? In Psalm 138, verse 8, it says, "The Lord will fulfill His purpose for me. Your love, O Lord, endures forever." So in other words, what it's implying, what it's stating is that God has genuine and pure intentions for His children who seek His will and plan. His intentions are genuine and pure, and He truly wants His plans to bless His children, to edify His children. He wants the best for them, and it's all out of love. His plans for His children are always a result of His great love, His unending, His selfless love for His children. So that's His intentions. Those are His motives. But what are our motives and intentions towards wanting the will of God or plan of God for our lives? Now, having said that, I need to make this distinction for you that there are two types of God's plans. One is the sovereign plan of God, the other is the individual or specialized, customized plan of God for each and every one of His children. So, first, let's take a look at the sovereign plan of God. Isaiah 46, verse 10 says, "I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times, what is still to come. I say, my purpose will stand, and I will do all what I please." So, here this verse is focusing on the fact that God works outside the spectrum of time that human beings are bound by. So, He knows the beginning, He knows the end, and He knows what happens in between as well. So, because He knows all of this, He's able to make plans that only He can make. We can't do that because we are time bound, but He can make plans that are out of the scope of time. And such are his sovereign plans. Because his sovereign plans, he will carry out regardless of man's opinions or views or circumstances. He will still do it because they're sovereign. An example of that would be um, the secret coming of Christ, or in other words, the rapture that many Christians are aware of. Some Christians believe in this. So, this is a sovereign plan of God. So, we believe that this is going to happen regardless of the circumstances around. This is going to happen. For example, the virgin birth of Christ, sovereign plan of God. The crucifixion, sovereign plan of God. These events happened because God had ordained them to happen, and there was nothing that could have ever stopped these events. So that is a sovereign plan of God. Now, what is the second category? The second category is a category that we are very familiar with, and that is the individual plan of God for your life. So, for each and every child of God, God has a plan that is specialized for that particular individual. Why? Because when God made man and woman, each and every one of us, we are all uniquely made. We are all made in a very special way. So there's something unique about each and every one. So therefore, we can't have the same plan. Everybody can't have the same plan. Now remember, sovereign plan can apply to everyone, regardless of their differences. But the individual plan of God is individualized, it's customized. It's only for you. So the plans God has for me is only for me. It will work for me. In accordance with the giftings and the callings and the purpose He has for my life, it will work for me. But it may not necessarily be His plan for you. It could be something else, and so on. So these are very individualized, specialized plans. And if we look at a verse that we all love very much and we love to quote, that is Jeremiah 29, verse 11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plan to give you hope and a future." So there you go. That is His individualized, customized plan for each and every one of His children. All right. So we looked at these areas. Now there might be some of you watching today and you might be thinking, well, yes, I know about this plan of God and I made sacrifices to accommodate this plan and I'm in this plan and I'm walking in this plan, but life is so hard for me. Things are falling apart and I'm wondering whether I did the right thing. Maybe you have doubts like that today and you're wondering, is this all worth it? Well, let me share this verse with you from Psalm 138, verse 10. "Even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast." So when you're walking in the plan and will of God, there are a couple of things that God will do for you. The first one, He will guide you. So with one hand, He will point out the direction that you need to go and the places you should not go. He will tell you what to do with one hand. So He guides you. And with His other hand, that is the right hand, He will hold you. He will protect you, shield you, and make sure you're steady in the path that you are walking for Him. And that is His right hand. Now, in our terminology, we would say, oh, she's my right hand girl or he's my right hand man. In other words, this is my close confidant. So that is the same image that God is using here with His right hand to say, my right hand is with you. I am protecting you. I'm shielding you. I'm taking you through this difficult terrain. I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging. But still, I'm doing this for you. I'm shielding you and I'm guiding you. Why? Because you're walking in my perfect will and plan for your life. So that is one assurance you have. The second one, yes. Right. Okay. The second one is from Isaiah 26, verse 3, where it says, "You will keep in perfect peace him whose mind is steadfast, because he trusts in you." So very often when people are going through chaotic situations or disturbing situations, we will often say, hey, calm down, relax, calm down, chill. Why are we saying that? Why are we saying calm down? Because that person is anxious. That person can't see things clearly, has lost his clarity of mind. And we say that to calm that person down. And that is what God does for His children who are walking in His perfect will and plan. He calms them down. He gives them peace from within. So even if they're massive storms brewing all around you and maybe even within you, still you will not be moved. You will be sustained. You will be made steadfast and firm in your journey because He is with you and He has given you that peace of mind and you have that clarity. So you can see the obstacles before you. You know what steps to take because your vision is not hindered because He has given you that peace of mind from within. It doesn't matter what the external world says. From within, you have that peace. And remember, if you want to walk in the will of God, you can never do that unless you trust your guide, and that is your God. Unless you trust Him, you will never be able to take those steps. Because something interesting in the way God works is, He will often just tell you one thing, take this step. He won't tell you the whole picture. He won't tell you the obstacles, the process. No, He might just tell you, just do this one thing. And that's all He says. And He will wait till you do it. And then once you do it, He will give you the instruction for the next one. So it's a journey of trust and faith. It's not like Google Maps, for example, where we could see the journey ahead. No, life doesn't work that way. We have to take it one day at a time and in faith and trust. Now, having said that, there might be another category here watching and you might be like, well, things are not looking good. I'm in a rough patch right now in my life. I don't know whether I'm in the will of God or not. Or maybe you do know that you have missed God's will for your life. So what happens to you? And you're in a tight spot. Well, God still loves you. And if you cry out to Him, yes, because of His great love, mercy, and grace, He will still help you. He will still get you out of it if you genuinely want His help. But remember, He's not responsible for it. He didn't ask you to get into that. You chose that. You and I, we have a free will. We can choose to walk away from the will of God. And whatever we have, circumstances we have to face then, consequences we have to face then, we have to take responsibility for it because it's not God's responsibility. But when you're walking in the will of God, it's His responsibility to make sure that you get to the end because you're obeying Him after all. So those are the thoughts that I want to share with you regarding the plans of God for your life. So let me reiterate the questions again that I just would like you to think about. Do you really value the plans God has for you? And what are your intentions and motives towards those plans and finding out those plans? And I pray even as you ponder on this that the Lord will guide you and direct you into the areas that He wants you to be in right now in your life. So thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and well, and may God bless you. Thank you.